A lot has been said when it comes to Disney World about price increases, things being taken away, things that are now being charged for that used to be free. But it's not often that you can actually look at pretty concrete evidence of the price changes when you're looking year over year. And we actually have an article here from Disney Food Blog, of all places, that actually confirmed that Disney World price increases have dramatically outpaced inflation. And I know when it comes to food, it's even double what inflation is. So we're going to go through this article, talk about it, and give some thoughts. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, this is from Disney Food Blog. It says, confirmed Disney World price increases dramatically outpace inflation. It says, I recently got lost on a deep dive into the history of prices at Disney World, comparing ticket, annual pass, Genie Plus, and food prices to the rate of inflation over the same time period. It says, I came out with some shocking results. Now, another recent study took a close look at those price increases, and numbers they reported confirm my research. All of it paints a somewhat scary picture of how prices have changed and how they might change in the future. Finance Buzz recently published their findings from a study comparing Disney World price increases to the rate of inflation over time. Overall, they found that prices for some popular Disney World food items increased by an average of 61% since 2014. While the rate of inflation was just 32%. That was that double of inflation I was talking about. That means that prices for Disney Eats have been increasing at almost double the price of the pace of inflation. Compared to the park ticket price changes, food prices are increasing at a higher rate. Park tickets increased by 56% in the last 10 years. It says, note that park ticket prices are going to increase again in 2025 still. The worst offender for price increases since 2014 is unfortunately one of our favorite restaurants, the bread service at Sanaa. In 2014, the bread service cost $9.99, and now it is $22. This appetizer comes with several different kinds of non-bread, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we've had this. It's good, but yeah, being $22 and it's considered an appetizer, I think you get like 4 or 5 pieces of bread. Kind of crazy. Another one of our top snack picks is the corn dog nuggets from Casey's Corner. They've unfortunately doubled in price over the last 10 years. In 2014, they were $4.99, and now they are $10.79. And here's a rate. If we can take a look at this, this is actually a really good chart on the inflation here. So since 2014, I mean, we've got Mickey Waffles up 30%, low-end tickets up 21%. Sanaa bread is the most. That was a 120% price increase. Corn dog nuggets, 116%. High-end park tickets, 91% increase. Mickey ice cream bar, 63% increase. Dole Whip, 58%. Churros, 54%. Mickey pretzel, 42%. And then actual inflation is 32%. So of the actual inflation, which is at 32%, only Mickey waffles and low-end ticket prices have gone below inflation. Everything else is above. And the only thing in the 30% range along with inflation is the turkey leg and hot dogs. That was 39%. Everything else is 40% or above, which is that's a wild chart. Although not every food price change outpaced the rate of inflation, food prices throughout Disney World all went up by at least $1.50 since 2014. And some happier news, Mickey waffle prices actually increased at a lower rate of inflation of just 30%. We talked about that. Yeah. You know, if I were to guess, they probably got a little bit smaller in size maybe, but I don't have anything to go off of that. I didn't actually measure them a few years ago. In my own research, I looked into historical price increases for Disney World tickets, annual passes, Genie Plus, and Mickey ice cream bars. I've got some really surprising results, such as this one. If annual passes prices increased at the normal rate of inflation since they were first introduced in 1982, the Incredipass would cost about $325. Today, they instead cost $1,449. Yeah, I mean, you can see since it really started. I think this is about 2016-ish. Then it really starts taking off there. Yeah. And they go on here to talk about base ticket prices. You know, you're talking well under $50. You know, you start getting to the mid 2000s where it was over $50 a ticket. And then very quickly now where we're at almost $200 for a day ticket on some of those stuff. Price change throughout the year and depending on which park you're visiting, but I took the highest one-day park ticket of every year to keep the data consistent. Note that even though the highest one-day, one-park ticket price for 2024 is $189, you can get tickets for Magic Kingdom as low as $229 if you go during a less busy time. So can you believe back in 1971, a Disney World ticket only cost $350? Now, back then the rides were pay per. It was like a fare. You had tickets, you had to pay per ride. But it says how much can we blame inflation? If we take the initial price of $350 and adjust for inflation between 1971 and today, we get $27.10. That means that if inflation were the only factor in affecting the price, tickets to Disney World would just be over $27. Demand for Disney has obviously grown over the last several years, which of course contributes to the price increases. As people continue to tolerate the price hikes, Disney World will likely get more expensive. I mean, annual passes, a very similar thing here, which we kind of talked about before. Even Genie Plus, they said when Genie Plus was introduced in October 2021 as a paid option just to skip the line. It first debuted in Disney World. Genie Plus cost $15 per person per day. It was the same price for every single park. Then October 11th, they changed that. In 2022, they changed that. And then busy seasons like summer or winter holidays saw Genie Plus increase up to $35 per person. So almost double. The most recent change to Genie Plus is on June 27th, 2023, when Disney introduced park-specific pricing. Now, if you want Genie Plus for Magic Kingdom, it will cost you more than if you buy for, say, Disney's Animal Kingdom. We've seen the price as high as $39 for Magic Kingdom in multi-park options. And here's a chart here showing the different options that you have here. Disney's Animal Kingdom being the lowest available, like 16, and then all the way up 25 when it comes to Magic Kingdom or multi-park. And then, yeah, you can see that price there. And they say Mickey ice cream bars to represent the food price increases in Disney World, while taking Mickey premium ice cream bars as our example. Just 15 years ago, Mickey premium ice cream bars cost $2.59. Now they're more than double that at $6.29. And all of that obviously is a long way of saying that things have gotten much more expensive at Disney World just outside of inflation. So inflation doesn't account for all of it. Obviously, you're dealing with demand. And so since 1970s, 1980s, like the demand for Disney World has gone up. So that is obviously a contributing factor here. But when you look at even just since 2020 on some of these on these charts here, you can see really quickly just how much they've shot up. And even here on this chart right here, I mean, this is 2019 here. You can just even see from there how much things have gone up. The only thing really staying consistent is that low-end park ticket since 2019 is still relatively flat. Everything else, though, is way up. And you can even see on some of these charts here. I mean, you look at 2020, 2016 above here, 2020, like it's just going almost vertical line there in terms of like how much more at the rate things are expensive. So I think the really question comes down to is I think Disney may be finding this out is that what is the breaking point? Because you're talking about, take for instance, like the ice cream bars. I mean, they used to be under $3. Now they are double that at $6 something. Like at what point, do people stop buying them when they're at $10, when they're at $12? Like at some point, you would think there's just a breaking point. I think Disney is hitting that with many people of it's just too expensive. Not only the park tickets, and park tickets are just one aspect of a theme park, a Disney World vacation. Obviously, those going up is going to be quite the hurdle for people to, especially when you're talking about even in the past 5 to 6 years, the price increases. But food is yet another one. And the amount that food has gone up is even way more than the tickets are. So that's an expense that is just, again, you're going to feel during your trip of if you buy anything, if you eat anything. And in many cases, since especially COVID and reopening, the food quality is not as good as it was. A lot of the portions are smaller. So not only are things more expensive, you're not getting as much for what you did pay before. So a lot of this goes into the fact that it's not just inflation. You hear a lot of people talk about Disney being more expensive and they'll say, oh, it's just inflation. It's not just inflation. And while to be fair, yes, there is demand. And obviously Disney being the biggest theme park player in the world, there is a lot of demand there. But they do have competition. And obviously, with Universal coming to the picture with Epic Universe, they push them in different ways. Now, I'm not going to argue that Universal is cheap. It is still expensive to go there. But when you have somebody else competing with Disney in the theme park realm, it will make Disney more sensitive to price changes in terms of being competitive on different things. And that's an area where Disney might compete with Epic Universe when it opens in 2025, because Disney, they did announce all those things at D23, but none of those things are going to be ready for, in my estimation, 3 to 7 years. So one of the only places Disney has to compete with Universal would be on price. Now, I don't believe that Disney's going to start cutting the prices on food. Typically, once it's there, it is there. But you could see them offering major discounts when it comes to tickets. They could offer, different packages. In the past, they did the free dining as part of booking a Disney trip when they kind of started that after 9/11, when they were really trying to get people to come to the parks. You could see a similar offering with that, where the base level prices don't change, but they'll run deals and discounts to where it could be much cheaper. But I just thought that was very interesting, though, to see it actually laid out of the price increases and just how dramatic they have been. And it's pretty wild when you look at it in that case. And, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people, when they go to the parks, they bring their own food in, and we do that a lot too. We bring in our own food for the kids, and we eat things here and there. But I mean, I've said this for a long time. If you, especially like when it comes to alcohol, like drinking alcohol at Disney is an investment. Eating at Disney is not cheap. So a lot of people end up cutting back. Maybe they can swallow the ticket prices, but they're not also going to pay, a family of four to even have a quick service meal would probably cost you almost $100 at a lot of spots. So the fact that a lot of people just aren't going to be paying that, Disney, I think potentially could, and I've seen this argument, I've made this argument before, can actually make a lot more money by making things more moderately priced because they would sell more of it and they probably would actually make more money. But Disney seems to very much want to hit that high end ceiling as much as they can. Now, to be fair to Disney, they are not as expensive as, like, say, SeaWorld. I was very surprised of going to SeaWorld, how expensive the food was there, and even the parking was almost $40. So while Disney gets a lot of heat, and obviously you look at these charts here and like there's a lot of price increases going on and nobody likes price increases. I understand them from a business standpoint and a demand standpoint. Doesn't mean I always agree with them or I think it's the best, course of action, but they obviously have the market share and the demand many times to do these things. But they're still not the most expensive, especially when it comes to, like, say, alcohol and food. I think you will still pay way more in alcohol and food when you go to, like, a sporting event, when you go to, like, say, SeaWorld. Some of these other theme parks can actually be more expensive than Disney, but it doesn't change away the fact that Disney's price increases are pretty dramatic, especially when you're talking food and it's double the rate of inflation over the past few years. But I thought that was interesting to talk about and just look at here and kind of give an idea of where it's at. It's kind of scary to think about where it could go if it's going to double from this point. If people are going to be paying $12 for an ice cream bar, probably so. I don't know. I don't know if we see a slowdown point. Obviously, the last 10 years, they have really ramped up the cost in which they charge things. It'd be interesting to see if they keep up that same rate, especially with more competition from Universal and others, or if they kind of slow that down and start working on more of the values that, the offerings that they make people to include with their trip. And even Universal. I mean, Universal is not, there's some aspects like their hotels, I think, are much better priced, but food in the parks, they're all in the relative same range. I mean, you're not going to find Universal being half the price of food or drinks or alcohol when you go over there. But I will say on Universal side, their hotels I like their hotels better. And you could also probably do an article on the Disney hotel prices as well as not only the food here. They didn't really go into that in this article, but Universal also they have more options when it comes to their annual pass holders. I think all of it is a little cheaper and makes it easier option on that end than Disney, but neither one are cheap. And like I said, you go to a sporting event, you go to a concert, you go to, like, say, SeaWorld, some of these other theme parks, they're more expensive than even Disney. So to be fair and to provide some perspective, do keep that in mind, but it doesn't change the price increases that have happened, especially the last 10 years. And just, where that could be, where that could go going forward is kind of scary to think about. But that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Disney World, Epic Universe, Universal Studios, and pop culture. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about all the price increases at Disney? Do you think it's fair, or do you think they're price gouging their guests? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.